here today with our Assistant City Manager, Rick Davis, and we're going to talk about our new Development Services Strategic Plan. So let's back up to all the way to the beginning. What was the impetus that brought us to the point where we were developing a plan in the first place?
Well, when you are dealing with complex systems like development and permitting, it is really impossible to make any kind of quantum improvement in a process like that unless you begin with the customers being served. And I think that's the realization that we had, is we can just pick at it here and there, but to make some type of holistic improvement and progress forward, we needed to go back to our customers.
Now, this wasn't done in a vacuum. Tell me all who was involved in this, because
Right.
there was a lot of people.
Well, by definition, the process is called customer-based strategic planning. So we start with going to our customers, and I organized a committee of 10 members. These included engineers, developers, policymakers, key staff, etc., 10 of us. And myself and our development process manager, Ram Mangita, facilitated this whole process, and it took about 5 months to get through the entire process. And from there, what we did is we identified a number of stakeholder groups. Now, these can be tradespeople, builders, developers, patrons of development services primarily. And we went to them, we engaged them, and we asked them 5 very powerful questions. I won't go over those, but we tried to get a 3-dimensional picture about what motivates them to continue to build in League City, why they're here, what are their hopes, fears, dreams, and ambitions.
Was there anything surprising or interesting that you found out that you weren't expecting?
I would say of the 20 years I've been involved in this type of strategic planning, I would normally answer you and say no.
Right,
There was nothing
right.
surprising. But because I'll usually remind people the power of strategic planning is not in what is articulated, but by who is articulating it. Okay, so it comes from the customer. In this case, I'll tell you, I was blown away.
Okay.
I entirely anticipated that the results of this was going to point to a desire, a need, a hope on the part of our patrons for speedier processes, lower fees, that kind of thing. And that's really where, as a paradigm, I started this whole process. What I found out is that our patrons' reaction to being involved in this process was entirely, I would say entirely, but I would say 4/5 emotional. One of the things they said to us is, we want you to care about our project as much as we care about it. We want you to see the value in our building in League City. We want you to feel a little teeny bit about the anxiety associated with taking a risk on projects like this, and to be sensitive to timelines and to costs and things like that. In other words, we want you to show more empathy. And so the emotionality of it really surprised me.
So, in a nutshell, describe what the end result. I mean, obviously this plan is strategic, otherwise it wouldn't be the Development Services Strategic
Right.
Plan. But what is the end result after 5 months of work that you guys have kind of come up with?
What we did is the committee was able to identify 5 common themes that we call strategic directives. And if folks want to read that, it will obviously be out on our site, and they can read all about those strategic directives. But these were big bucket areas where our patrons wanted us to emphasize our efforts and make improvements. Beyond that, the committee was able to establish a number of key initiatives, strategic initiatives, intended to bring about progress in those 5 key areas. So I describe it this way: if the directives are the destination, the initiatives are the instructions on how to get there, kind of like your GPS, how you get there. From there, what we're going to do is we're going to turn it over to staff, and within the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to program activities, strategies, steps, tactics in order to bring each one of those initiatives to fruition.
So there's a lot more work ahead of us.
Oh, we've only just, well, it's kind of like Karen Carpenter. We've only just begun.
So what do we really want to achieve when all this is said and done?
What we want, ultimately, the bottom line hope for anyone engaging in a community-based or customer-based strategic planning is always going to be elevated trust. As people know or recognize that we're listening to them, that we are responding to them, that we have their best interests at heart, and that we have the professional will to bring to pass, to bring to fruition the things that they care about most, there cannot help but be an elevated state of trust. And trust is the foundation of all human relationships. We cannot do our jobs at City Hall in any department without trust. And so therefore the bottom line product, that, as I described earlier, the method to this madness is elevated trust.
Anything else about the plan and how it came about that you would like to add that we didn't talk about?
This is a very, very, I would say, unorthodox approach to strategic planning. Whereas most strategic planning begins and ends with a key number or a certain number of key staff that determine what they think ought to be done in order to improve services. This starts right at the users of the service themselves. And I hope that it will set the tone, the foundation for greater staff empowerment, greater staff motivation, involvement in moving our processes forward and improving them, and that we can apply this same type of methodology to other areas of the city in the future.
Well, thank you for joining us today,
Oh,
Rick.
my pleasure.
And I am excited to see all the things that will be happening in the future.
I am too.